Hi everyone, thank you for taking the time to come down today for Singapore Ads Week. I'm very happy to see some familiar faces and also some new faces. So today we have quite an agenda-packed schedule. So I'll try to keep my slides concise as well, but really my aim is really just to help you prepare for Prime Day and also to refresh maybe some of your memory in case you've done multiple Prime Days already. So I'll quickly jump into it. So for 2023 this year, essentially, as Stephen mentioned again, during the peak season, we really see consumer behavior changing. And I think just want to remind, especially the experienced advertisers, to not forget to keep track of how your consumers are interacting with your products, with your brands. Also, before I forget, we will be actually recording this session, but if you want to kind of remember anything, please feel free to use your mobile phones to take pictures, because we can't share the entire deck to you. You can tune in to subsequent recordings or take a picture if you want to keep track of any of the checklists. So back to Prime Day, basically we know that consumer behavior changes quite drastically before Prime Day, and then of course leading up to the day itself. We can't, of course, officially announce the day right now. It will be a press release, but before Prime Day, actually, we want advertisers as well as sellers to start preparing your listings, preparing your ads, so that basically they succeed and you grow your sales really hard during Prime Day. And as I mentioned, apart from just running ads, I think it's important for sellers to be mindful of building your brand during Prime Day. So today we will focus a lot more on how to really kind of like build your brand, a global brand, selling in US or probably other marketplaces as well. And we have some tools in Amazon and some tips to help you really kind of create a brand story and how to optimize your creative brand storytelling. But definitely, we also see historically that advertisers that have kind of boosted their brand during Prime Day with ads, they see up to 2 times increase in impressions, awareness, as well as purchase intent in our consumers. So for the checklist, basically what I'm going to prepare you guys for is just firstly to be prepared for your products. Secondly, definitely prepare for your ads, optimize your ads. And then thirdly, definitely to leverage some free tools. I'm sure most of our sellers here have already probably set up your store, but I think we will be sharing more on the best practices in terms of how to really dress up your stores. We also have selling partners here that their expertise is basically advising global brands in terms of how to really make their store beautiful, really eye-catching, and it has turned businesses around as well. So that's something you can leverage with some of our consultants that are helping us here today. So going into the Prime Day kind of like 3-phase shopper cycle, you'll notice that we'll keep repeating this throughout the entire day across my multiple colleagues and also with some of our selling partners. Essentially, we want kind of like our sellers and advertisers, to kind of be aware of the lead-up phase, where basically you'll see that shoppers will really start flocking to the Amazon website even before the day itself. So what we want sellers and advertisers to be prepared of is basically, very importantly, firstly, get ready. Sorry. Maybe I'll not use the mic. Is my voice okay? Okay, so essentially we want you to really prepare for the lead up where we see that shoppers are actually flocking to the website. There's an increase in traffic, and what this means is that actually your budget might go out of budget sooner, for example. So we'll be kind of reminding you throughout today's session that keep track of your budget. There are certain kind of new product features where you can add budget rules, for example, to kind of prevent that situation. And of course, to start testing, right, A/B testing your creatives ahead of Prime Day. So that's what we kind of want you to prepare for the Prime Day lead up. And of course, during Prime Day itself, we want sellers to be really focused in terms of your actual bidding, targeting, and budgeting strategy. So we will recommend different type of ASIN matrix to look at, and also the corresponding strategy, so you don't miss out on the Prime Day opportunities. And of course, in the lead out of Prime Day, I think, I've spoken to some of your AMs, maybe some of you have AMs, they always tell me, oh, my sellers forget to, advertise after Prime Day. Immediately after Prime Day ends, all their campaigns end. So actually, you might be missing out on quite a bit of sales in just like the 2 weeks after Prime Day, because there are quite a lot of sellers that consumers or shoppers who actually forgot to click buy now. They might have added to cart. So they actually quite rely on ads basically to remind them to continue to buy. And actually shoppers are willing to shop after Prime Day as well without the deals. So basically, ideally, if possible, you want to take a screenshot of this if you want to kind of keep a checklist of what to do. So essentially, to summarize, right, across the 3 stages of Prime Day, definitely in the lead up phase, I know a lot of sellers always ask me, how do I manage ACOS? And a lot of ACOS related questions, but actually in the different phases of Prime Day, you should have different objectives. So in the lead up phase, it might be actually a good idea to start driving awareness. So some of the metrics that you keep track in your advertising console might be also slightly different. So you might want to look at impressions or traffic leading up towards Prime Day and clicks. And during Prime Day itself, of course, as Stephen mentioned, it's really optimizing it for conversion. So then over there, you will start to be a bit more aggressive in terms of bidding. And of course, budget is really important during Prime Day, because if you go out of budget, your campaigns are stopped, probably until after the entire Prime Day event is over. So that's something we want to keep aware of. And of course, keep track of your inventory. And of course, in the lead out period is where you start tracking your performance for 2023 Prime Day. How has the return on advertising has been for your businesses? So this is the summary. We will go into much more detail. So going straight into the lead up periods, which is around 2 to 4 weeks before the event, we actually see that Prime Day is kind of like the key moment where a lot of shoppers, for example, American shoppers, are likely to drive essentially new to brand discovery. Firstly, so they come onto the site, they look at new products, they're willing to browse. So what this means for you is that essentially there will be a lot more organic traffic. So you'll see a lot of increase in impressions, clicks, but there might not be purchases yet because everyone is just browsing, shopping for fun, right? I mean, we all have experienced kind of 11/11, 12/12 in Singapore. It's also kind of the same feeling where we just start scrolling before the actual event. So this is something we need to keep aware of. So definitely around 2 months in advance, 8 weeks before actually advertising, just want to remind all our sellers, definitely start running your sponsored product campaigns definitely in advance. This is so you can just keep track of your consumer behavior. Even just your automatic campaign is going to reveal some changes in consumer behavior. So probably last time they could have been searching, for example, if you're selling a water bottle, they could have been searching and your hero keyword might actually be water bottle or insulated water bottle. But maybe leading up towards Prime Day, they might start changing in terms of their search behaviors. So you'll want to kind of keep track of how your keywords have been changing over time. Definitely ahead of time, you can also experiment with launching, for example, sponsored brand products, sponsored brand advertising solutions. So you get your brand name out there ahead of time, and you can A/B test kind of your stores, your visuals, take advantage of posts, for example. So that's what we kind of want sellers to remember, taking note definitely 8 weeks in advance. Especially if you intend to launch any kind of new products ahead of the peak season. So a lot of sellers might think, I'll actually go live with the product on Prime Day itself. It's actually not too good of an idea. I think definitely you should start preparing your listings for your new product as well. And you should already be kind of dressing up your listing ahead of time. And then, of course, running sponsored products campaign on your new products before the peak season so that you know how to actually optimize it on Prime Day itself. And definitely 2 weeks before, before Prime Day, what you want to do is, of course, create a brand and, of course, kind of ramp up your creativity around that. So my colleague later will be sharing a little bit more on sponsored brands and sponsored display. But sponsored display is also a great time, 2 weeks before Prime Day, and a great opportunity basically to start driving awareness of your brand, of your products across top of search, product detail pages. So in the listing, we actually have sponsored display all over your own listings as well. So that's an excellent opportunity to drive awareness for your sponsored display. And definitely also, I think a lot of sellers kind of forget about their stores. I think maybe you have launched it already, but I think before Prime Day is a great time to actually review your store again to see whether you can ramp up in terms of, your brand like creative images. Are there any highly kind of like effective visuals that you have maybe implemented in social media or in posts? So definitely, take the kind of 7 key features. You can include, for example, your bestseller widget onto your store, or your deals as well as your promotions widgets onto your store, so that when consumers land towards your stores, definitely, they start clicking on like the promos that you are running for Prime Day. And secondly, I think a lot of sellers also forget about posts. So we actually have social media within Amazon app itself, which is the post. It's kind of like Instagram, where you can click through towards your own ASINs. So we also encourage sellers to try posts before Prime Day, and of course during Prime Day itself, because if you haven't tried it already, you can actually A/B test some of the visuals that you want to go live with. And you can actually see what is working and then implement it onto your store as well. So that's before Prime Day. And during Prime Day itself, I think this is where you really see a lot of your purchasers or your sales coming in. Actually, you could be getting a lot of new to brand customers. So this is a metric that Amazon introduced. I'm not sure whether sellers have kind of been tracking kind of the new to brand customers, but this is the moment where actually your brand is exposed to a lot of customers that have never shopped your brand before. Apart from just remarketing to your existing loyal customers, reminding them to buy your products, it's also a great moment to kind of tell your story. So ahead of Prime Day, definitely, the 3 key actions. If you are launching a new product ahead of the peak season, then definitely this is the time to start increasing your budget. Definitely to accelerate, conversions. And of course, definitely, right, as I mentioned, we really encourage sellers to start trying sponsored brands because sponsored brand is actually a highly visible, rich creative solution that appears, like at top of search, along the top of search listings as well. So we definitely encourage sellers to try that. And lastly, I think a lot of sellers here, actually, I feel you guys are ready for this. So you might be running kind of a social media campaign outside of Amazon. So you might be running ads on TikTok or Instagram, and you're driving, kind of like traffic towards the Amazon sites. So we actually have Amazon attribution, where we'll be doing a deep dive after lunch on Amazon attribution. So this is where you basically track where most of your out of Amazon traffic is coming from. So maybe you might be running kind of Google search campaign, Instagram campaign, TikTok campaign, driving to your Amazon store, for example. Then you want to kind of review where most of your traffic is coming from. So probably maybe TikTok might be driving most of your traffic. So then you can reallocate budgets during Prime Day itself, so that you just drive more traffic and invest more in basically the out of sites websites that are driving the traffic towards you for Prime Day. So again, as I mentioned, 4 key tips for advertising during Prime Day period. I know everyone does sponsored products, very important, but we also recommend sellers to actually try sponsored brands and display. So after me, my colleague will kind of talk about sponsored brands and display. Secondly, I think personally my favorite advertising product, which very geeky, but it sounds weird, but it's definitely sponsored brands video for me, because I'm a very visual person. I like watching videos. When you search for a product, for example, water bottle in Amazon, if you try it, you'll see that actually, apart from all the listings that appear on top of search, you'll often see a video suddenly popping up. So that is sponsored brands video. And essentially, it's, as our top seller shared yesterday, it's huge shelf space, in a way, huge virtual shelf space. So usually when the top of search result comes out, you get probably 5 or 6 listings coming up on each row. But the sponsored brand video is actually one entire video by itself. So that is where you can essentially grab eyeballs, capture a lot of attention in top of search. Thirdly, definitely sponsored display is the great tool to drive awareness as well as impressions, traffic, because without impressions or traffic, you're not going to get much sales as well. So that's the tool in terms of targeting relevant audiences to your product. And also to build an offensive and a defensive strategy for your product as well. And then of course, lastly, if you haven't already, you might want to take stock of your store and then of course, ramp up your store ahead of Prime Day. So that's the key tip for during the Prime Day period. And as I mentioned, when we go out of Prime Day itself, 2 to 4 weeks after Prime Day, this is the moment to drive repurchase and brand loyalty. So if you actually ran sponsored display campaigns during Prime Day, you actually can remarket to sellers who have previously viewed or clicked on your product detail pages but might not have purchased. So sponsored display actually gives you the insights of, this pool of audiences that might have viewed your sponsored display ad or clicked on your product but didn't buy. So you can actually do remarketing, views or purchase remarketing to your sellers. So that's after Prime Day. We notice definitely customers are willing to purchase even after Prime Day with or without a deal. So I would say, at the very least, sustain your campaigns probably 1 week after Prime Day at the minimum. And definitely, as I mentioned, just take advantage of remarketing in the seasons. I don't really recommend your advertising campaigns to stop right there because you'll be losing a lot of insights in terms of your consumers who might be kind of like still taking a look at your listings. Of course, you want to start winding down some of your more aggressive bids after Prime Day for sure. But of course, your brand store, your branding, we highly encourage that you continue 2 to 4 weeks after Prime Day as well. So actually that's my summary for just an overarching strategy. We will have a bit more actionable kind of sessions with our top selling partners later. Definitely, as I mentioned, the top 3 tips, right? Firstly, encourage you guys to use multiple ad products. Apart from sponsored products, try sponsored brands, especially to drive traffic towards your store. Secondly, definitely keep track of your budget. Essentially, that's my tip. We want to avoid any of your campaigns going out of budget, especially for your hero ASIN. And thirdly, I think definitely keep track of your live performance during Prime Day, a 48-hour event. It might be actually really important for you to track and optimize in real time rather than kind of waiting for 1 day to pass. So that's essentially my top 3 tips to take out. For Prime Day, I hope everyone's sales do really well during Prime Day as well. So I'll be introducing actually my next colleague, Jasmine.